Look what you did, you little jerk!
What's going on, Jerk Faces? Welcome to another edition of the Circle of Jerks podcast, remote edition. We have myself and Andy, as always, and one of our favorite guests, most prepared guest probably, Eric Nam, talking films today.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on again. I love being on this podcast. It's so much fun. So,
love to have you.
Yeah, I'm always grateful when you invite me. And it's a perfect time for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're just happy that you have nothing to do so that you can hang out with us.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get to leave the house. I'm not at home right now. I'm in my car. Just get a little bit of a break. It's insane at home, but yeah, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. What have you kind of been up to, like, during your self-quarantine? Or what was the term that we created, Andy? That we came up on Tuesday instead of social distancing?
Yeah, because the reason why we came up with an alternative term was because every time I said social distancing, it made me want to punch myself in the dick.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like that term, social distancing. So we came up with contagion negation.
That's right, contagion negation.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, contagion negation. Where do I begin? I've been eating, sleeping, hiding from the kids.
You don't seem to be doing a really good job because I've been keeping up with your Instagram stories. And it seems like you're with them all the time, or they're with you all the time.
Oh, dude, all the time, dude. And even when I have to go to work, I'm obviously not working as much, but I still have meetings here and there. I got to take them with me. It's insane.
Yeah.
But it's funny. We're trying to make the most of it. They just started learning skateboarding, which was fun. That happened because it started with the intent of trying to teach them how to ride a bike, because I realized that's one thing I've neglected to do is teach them how to ride a bike. So we went out, and then I was riding my skateboard, and they just couldn't get the bike, and I was like getting frustrated, and they're like, "Can we try the skateboard?" I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." And they picked that up right away. I'm like, "All right, fine, I guess you can skateboard instead of biking." So they still don't know how to ride a bike.
I think I saw you put the training wheels on though, right?
For Gus, yeah. So he's on training wheels. Yeah. So I feel much worse about Grayson. Grayson's 9 now. He just turned 9. He still can't ride a bike. So yeah, I can live with it.
There's people that they're older, they don't I know a few people that don't know how to ride bikes or know how to swim. So it happens.
Right, yeah. He can do other things, so I think he'll be okay.
Yeah. The kid's a mean drummer, so he's got that going.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but he's screwed unless there's a. Not a whole lot, just at home, just enjoying the contagion negation period.
Contagion negation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny watching everyone lose their minds because they're stuck at home. It's like my years of unemployment and just being a freelance creator has prepared me for this because in either of those I was just stuck at home all the time.
Yeah. And
so it's this is nothing new to me, but everyone else is losing their minds. It's oh my god, I'm so bored. I'm just I'm like Bane, just I was born of this. I was molded by it.
Well, me, I've been busier at work than ever. Helping people get their packages at home, which has been good. So I'm very blessed, very happy that I'm making money. I'm making pretty good money right now because there's a lot of overtime. And Yeah, but other than that, like I've mainly been, yeah, I come back home and we do stuff for the podcast. I've been kind of, watching some movies and shows that haven't really had a chance to watch yet. Uh, Eric, you and I, we were talking a little bit about the that Tiger King docu series that's on Netflix
Oh my
and
god,
how fucking insane these people are.
bonkers, man, straight bonkers. Can't believe these people exist.
But yeah, and I know Andy's pretty excited because he's like, I was like, how like a lot of these guys are these two guys that are running these tiger zoo kingdoms. That they're cult leaders in a sense. Like you have the Joe Exotic who is essentially, you know, kind of creating like, turning all these guys into gay guys into his husbands, and like they all have meth mouth. You have the other guy that's having sex with every like woman that comes across his path and has them get all like, boob jobs and essentially makes them his sex slaves to run his tiger kingdom. And then you have the other lady that who killed her husband and kind of simped out her current husband, and they're they're against the other two tiger guys, yet she's doing the same exact thing as them. It's a huge fucking mess.
It's insane. It's insane. But I
And
told you guys earlier, like the one thing that got me about it was, as crazy as these people are, they're so goddamn productive. They get so much shit done. Like owning 227 tigers and like feeding all of them on a daily basis. Like, what am I doing with my life, dude?
yeah. Well, the scary thing is like those guys are nuts because tigers, like even like when they're a few months old, they'll rip a bowling ball in half with their claws, and that's just
Crazy.
them playing. That's just
Yeah.
them playing. They'll fuck you up. And yeah, we're just, they're fine. The tigers, the lions, yep, they're our friends. Like you're fucking crazy. Like, have you ever like been around like a tiger when it like roars? Like my like heart like skips like 4 beats. Like I feel like I'm gonna faint.
Right.
Crazy.
It's like that video, of that little kid who's at like, the zoo, right? And like the tiger exhibit, and she has her back turned, and then you see the tiger like kind of like crouching down, like kind of stalking her, and then does like a freaking full on like sprint towards the glass, and like bam, like the child is safe, but that tiger is trying to kill that kid.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
It's
Crazy.
yeah, so it's like these they're just cuddly friends. Like no, they're killers. They're instinctual killers.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way to domesticate those.
Oh no.
Uh,
God. But I mean, they're beautiful animals, but fuck,
Oh,
man, they're
yeah.
scary.
yeah.
Do they quick question? Do they have any ligers?
Yes, they
in
do.
the show? Yeah. They do
Oh,
have
okay.
ligers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just tigers. I mean, they have they have tigers, lions, ligers, jaguars, leopards, cheetahs, elephants, monkeys, all sorts of shit.
Do you guys know that 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 they're ligers, but that not every liger is a liger?
What does that mean?
It depends on the parentage. So ligers are only ligers if the father is a lion and the mother is a tiger. But then there are Tyons, which is where the tiger is the father and the mother is a lion.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Oh, so there's something called a tie-on?
yeah.
Oh my god. People need to like find it. Jesus Christ! Stop doing meth.
Yeah, well, I think that's what gives them the courage to run into those fucking cages with these creatures.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah, but I just thought it was interesting that not all ligers are ligers, but like some ligers are actually Tyons because of the parentage.
Oh man.
Oh, and then the best part was you had this one guy who he's like a financier, and he essentially uses tiger cubs to get laid.
Oh, that Vegas guy, the guy who tried to take over.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
wait. Like, how does it? How does he?
So him and his wife,
Uh-huh.
because they live in Las Vegas, they sneak
Uh-huh.
tiger and lion cubs, with them into these hotel suites, and
Uh-huh.
they lure like young women so that they can have sex with them.
Using the
Come
Cubs,
check
right?
out my
They're sneaking
tiger
into the room.
cubs.
Yeah. Oh my god, that tiger's so cute. Let me pet it. Now I'm gonna fuck you.
I gotta
man.
admit though, that's a pretty boss. That's a pretty boss line. Like, hey, want to check out my
Yeah.
tiger cubs?
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's a pretty baller move right there. That's a pretty baller line.
I'll be honest. I don't think I quite have the moves to pull that off. So. Yeah.
I could pull it off.
Hey, I see what you can do. Those. Hey, be careful. Look at me. Uh, but yeah, that series was just fuck, dude. It's the trashiest trailer trash. Like it makes my family look tame.
Wow.
Oh man. Yeah, Andy, you haven't watched it yet, huh?
No, I haven't. But how you guys are describing it, is I definitely putting on top of the list. After this,
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
after this, I'm gonna after recording, I'm gonna go put it on and enjoy myself.
And I heard that they're actually going to be putting out one more episode.
Oh really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, There's 7 now, but I guess like there's more info that came out, so they might have an 8th episode that they're going to put out.
Oh, I heard. Yeah, I actually heard about this. That because of the docuseries, a lot of interest been have been a lot of interest has been reignited in the case of that Carol Baskin's husband. And so
Yeah.
now, so now like the police are getting like all these like tips and stuff. I mean, who knows if that it actually the tips are credible, but they're reopening the case.
Right?
Yeah, they're reopening the
I heard
case.
that.
She 1000% killed her husband.
Oh, absolutely. I think she's the craziest out of all of them.
Oh yeah. All the like, I never had friends. I just had cats. Yeah, you're a fucking nutbag.
Oh man. At one point, maybe you too, Robert. At one point, I was actually kind of rooting for Joe.
I kind of was too. It's like, to be honest, like Joe is a crazy person who is like he's a fucked up individual, but like of all the people that were there, I think he was like the least shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an egomaniac, but that's kind of his biggest crime.
Dude, his music videos are so awesome.
Oh, dude.
Oh my god.
Wait, he has music videos?
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta...
Oh my god.
All right, don't spoil anymore. I gotta check this out. I gotta check this out.
Yeah. Andy, you gotta watch and report back.
All right, for sure I will. Yeah.
The best part is like he was so into himself. It's like he was like in his truck, like driving wherever he was driving to. He'd listen to his own music.
Yeah.
Oh wow. music he himself like wrote and produced and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
I heard recently though that it's not him really singing. He hired someone to sing, but
that explains.
It's still yeah.
Dude, he has one of the most glorious mullets too.
Oh
yeah. Nice.
Oh man. Yeah, I can't. After we're done, Andy, watch Tiger King. You're gonna love it.
All right, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
Yeah. Well, why don't we get into our movie reviews for today? We're gonna be doing some Scorsese films that I feel like have a lot more similarities than I had realized when I before kind of rewatching them again for the review, we're going to be doing the 1990s Goodfellas, and we're going to be doing the Irishman, which was on Netflix. What was that last year that came out?
I think end of last year, was it like December?
Yeah, in November,
Yeah.
I think.
November, December? Yeah.
And Andy, why don't you go ahead and give us the synopses of both films?
Sure, yeah. All right, here's the synopsis for Goodfellas. A young man grows up in the mob and works very hard to advance himself through the ranks. He enjoys his life of money and luxury, but is oblivious to the horror that he causes. A drug addiction and a few mistakes ultimately unravel his climb to the top. Based on the book Wise Guy by Nicholas Pileggi. That's the synopsis for Goodfellas. And for The Irishman, the synopsis goes as: in the 1950s, truck driver Frank Sheeran gets involved with Russell Buffalino and his Pennsylvania crime family. As Sheeran climbs the ranks to become a top hitman, he also goes to work for Jimmy Hoffa, a powerful teamster tied to organized crime. And this movie is based off the movie I Hear You Paint Houses.
All right. Well, where should we start? How do we want to talk similarities? Where the movies differ? How do you guys want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good starting point.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, some of the
similarities.
I think some of the similarities that I found is that they are both these kind of long epic narratives from the main characters and it's a journey through their life. In Goodfellas, it's Henry Hill played by Ray Liotta. In The Irishman, it's Frank Sheeran, the Irishman, through his life. The other thing that I found that and also these are also both based off of somewhat real events. Henry Hill was both of them were notorious liars, but Henry Hill he was this wise guy that ended up becoming an informant for the FBI, and Frank Sheeran is talking about his one of the many potential theories of to what happened to Jimmy Hoffa, and his claim was that I was the one that killed him for the mob. So that's both those have kind of have that similarity where it's somewhat based in reality, and they're kind of told in these long form narratives throughout their life.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess they're both narrating the story themselves, right? Frank is talking to.
That's correct. Yeah.
I don't know who is Frank talking to the writer.
That's one of the theories.
I was thinking that myself this morning because I've been cogitating on that all week, and it's like, is he talking to his priest? Is he talking to the author? Is he talking to the FBI? Who's he talking to?
Yeah.
And to be honest,
that's a good question
because we never see who he's actually talking to.
Yeah, but he's actually sitting there talking to someone. He's not breaking the fourth wall. He's actually talking to someone on the other side of.
That's a difference. Henry Hill is talking to us as the audience.
Yeah,
Frank
he breaks the fourth wall. He looks directly at us, right? Talking to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Frank Sheeran, he's talking to somebody else.
Yeah. I wonder who that. Maybe the nurse? No.
No, like I said, I think the only
because the opening shot is someone walking obviously the person that Frank is talking to is so the first shot is of that person walking through the halls and coming to Frank. So from outside of the hospital, so it stands to reason that it could be the author or the investigator who eventually goes on to write the book.
Yeah, I guess that makes the most sense. Yeah. And then I guess touching on that, that's a similarity too, right? There are lots of stylistic similarities, but that shot is kind of like the Steadicam shot, the famous one in Goodfellas, where they walk through the kitchen.
Yeah.
And into the restaurant. It's just like one long take. And this one is kind of like that too, isn't it? It's a kind of a long extended take. They're walking through.
Yeah, that's true.
The guy sits. Yeah. So I thought that was a similarity. And then we were just saying like stylistically, even the very beginning, the title card sequence. Remember Goodfellas? Everything kind of zooms by the cast and then the title.
Yeah.
I was reading up on it, and I read that it was actually Saul Bass who did that. And Saul Bass was a graphic designer. He did all the famous movie posters, kind of like the Vertigo, Hitchcock's Vertigo, that famous one.
Yeah.
Even The Shining, the yellow one with the eyes and the lettering. He did that. So he did a lot of the iconic graphic design for Hollywood, and he did that. But then in Irishman, it's kind of similar to that whole sequence where they're also driving. It's also cars driving on the road, but then the letters come up, and it says, "I heard you paint houses," which I thought was kind of an homage to Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy, what did you see anything that you noticed like similarity wise with the films?
For me, I think, yeah, a lot of it, Irishman, I should say, definitely reminded me of Goodfellas. The narrative, format, kind of, and the kind of recounting, not necessarily because I think we're meant to take this as him recounting the events as opposed to experiencing the events. So then it kind of goes to that, I always forget this term, but unreliable narrator.
If I'm understanding you, what you're saying is like where in Goodfellas, it's like we're reacting along with Henry of him telling us this story, whereas with Frank, it's more of a reflective tale.
Right, exactly. Especially because it sets it up that way because you see old Frank, as opposed to in Goodfellas where you start off with it starts off with old Henry too.
I think that my guessing. I'm wondering if this is kind of like a course, because through these characters we're also getting a little bit of Scorsese, right? Because obviously in 1990, he was definitely a much more active director, and it was like and so it like Henry Hill's narrative, it's very active. It's you're experiencing it along with him, whereas this movie felt like more he was reflecting on his work in the past.
I have the info right here. Scorsese was 48 when he made Goodfellas, and he was 77 when he made Irishman.
Oh, he was 48 when he made that movie?
He was 40, yeah, I thought he was younger than that, but he was 48 when he made that. Yeah. But that's still, he's young and vibrant. So you're totally right about that. I agree with you. And I totally see what you're saying, Andy, because the unreliable narrator, is that what you said? Unreliable. Yeah. Because even to this day, a lot of people refute that entire book, right? That he even did any of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially killing Hoffa. That he killed Hoffa.
Yeah.
Right. Because no one knows what happened. Still to this day, no one knows what happened to him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I wrote down something here. One thing that reminded me about that was that fish scene. Remember when they're going to pick up Hoffa?
Yeah.
It's his son and Sally Bugs and Frank in the back. And there's this whole thing about that fish because he had brought a fish and it stank up the car, but he couldn't remember what kind of fish it was. I was like, why? Who can't remember the fish? But then it made me realize it's not actually the kid telling the story. It's Frank telling the story. So maybe this is kind of a hole in his plot, that he's making this all up. That it's Frank making all of this up.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then that does go to the to the unreliable narrator, because it's like, of course, like how would the son not remember what kind of fish that he was transporting in the car?
Yeah.
But Frank retelling the story, he's like
Yes.
he might have forgot that detail, or he just wasn't paying attention because for whatever reason he was like distracted, because like whether or not he was actually going to kill Hoffa himself, or he was just going to take part. Maybe he was just like he wasn't paying attention, and that bit of information didn't register.
Exactly. Or maybe he was just making the whole thing up. And,
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you brought that up. I actually went a whole different direction in that scene. I kept thinking of from Pulp Fiction, the Royale with Cheese scene between Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay.
It kind of felt like that, where it's this kind of like strange narrative, and it had a little bit of that feel to it.
And like the back and forth banter.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, I totally see that. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think that's what Scorsese was going with there, but I was like, I don't know why seeing that scene this time around, it's like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of this scene from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. With bootleg Matt Damon. What's his name? Jesse Plemons?
Yeah.
Bootleg Matt Damon.
Dude,
or poor man's Matt Damon. Poor man's Matt Damon.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh
man, he's a good actor. That kid's a good actor though. But
every
Yeah.
time I look at him, it's just poor man's
Matt Damon.
I've seen.
I think probably my favorite work that he's done was in this movie called Game Night. And he plays like this really kind of awkward cop. I don't know. I don't know. For some reason, that performance stuck with me. I know he's yeah. It's just kind of like this dark comedy with. We were just talking about him. Jason Bateman. Him and what's that other? Who's that chick from The Notebook? The young one.
Oh, I forgot her name.
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel McAdams.
Yeah. Him, like they have this couple's game night, and then it turns into like this real this kind of caper, and he played like not Jason Bateman, but the other guy, poor man's Matt Damon. He plays like this awkward. He plays like this awkward policeman who's kind of loosely associated with like the rest of the couples, because he was dating he was married to one of the friends, but then they got divorced. But then like the actual the wife, the ex-wife, who was the actual friends with these people, moved away, but he stayed, and so like they have to kind of kind of like put up with him in a way, in a sense.
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. Just make sure your kids aren't around, because there's some violence and and some inappropriate language. So just
I remember him from Friday Night Lights when he was really young. I remember him from that. And then I remember him from Breaking Bad. You remember he played that really creepy dude?
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I think that's why it stuck with me. Because I kind of watched Breaking Bad on and off, but I do remember watching a few episodes with that character, and I think that's why. That's probably why that his performance in Game Night stuck with me. It's because from that episode. Okay.
He does like really well in the Breaking Bad movie El Camino.
Oh, I haven't watched it. Is that good?
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet either.
Yeah, maybe I'll check it out.
That was a really good scene in The Irishman. I think it's a very interesting point that you made, Eric. I was like, I didn't think of it that way. Where it's like, the unreliable narrator, and because we're not seeing it through the other characters' eyes, we're only seeing stuff through Frank's telling of the story.
Exactly.
Right, and I think, well, yeah, and I think to the benefit of Goodfellas, I think that's where Irishman kind of falls flat because we get in Goodfellas we get different perspectives, because it's not just Henry Hill who's telling the story, but you get you get his Carrion's a narrator, and I think even there's one other character.
Narrator? Robert De Niro?
No, I don't think Jimmy Conway or Joe Pesci's character are narrating, but I think it's mainly Karen and Henry.
Okay.
Hmm.
Which makes me think that it's actually maybe it is actually them telling a story to the feds.
That's
Right at the end, they're sitting there, in front of the FBI agent or whatever. And they're like, they're
Yeah.
that might, okay. So that makes a little bit more sense, at least in terms of the narrative style, which then also can apply to Irishman because he's telling the story to supposedly the author of the writer of the book.
Right. Yeah.
But I think, well, I did mention this to Robert about the one thing that was lacking, I think, in Irishman that Goodfellas had was, I think, the perspective of Karen in Goodfellas. But we don't get any such sort of perspective from any other female characters. But then that might also go towards the narrative nature of how Frank is sharing this story, telling a story to someone else, and so it's not necessarily, and because no other woman is with them at the end, there's no that's the reason why there's no other perspective.
right, because everyone's dead. It's only him that's left.
Yeah. And the irony is, with what you're saying, Andy, the irony is that he was married with like 3 daughters, so he was surrounded by women.
Right, exactly, and I think one of the theories was that he was retelling, he was finally confessing his sins to his daughter Peggy, which he had a great affection for, but it turns out that no one no one in his family was there for him at the end.
So sad. That was the saddest thing.
Right, I think one of the saddest things was when he went to go pick out his own coffin. Because he knew that there was no one would do that for him, so he had to be the one to pick up his own coffin.
That was one of the funniest and saddest scenes at the same time.
Right,
because that guy was like
Action Bronson, right?
Yeah, Action Bronson. I freaking love Action Bronson.
Action Bronson.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna end with "fuck, that's delicious."
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, oh,
that's delicious being his
who's the coffin for? It's like, it's for me. It's like, oh shit, that's dark.
Yeah, and he picks a green one out of all.
Yeah.
How appropriate for an Irishman.
Yep. Man. What else?
Something else that I thought was a similarity is that in both these movies, Robert De Niro's character is Irish.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's true, huh? Jimmy Conway's Irish.
Yeah, Jimmy Conway's Irish. And that's why him and Henry Hill could never be made in the Italian mob because they
That's right.
Because they were, or at least in the case of Henry Hill, he was half Irish.
Right.
Part Italian, but then Jimmy Conway could never be made in the Italian mob.
He could only be an associate, right?
Right, exactly. He can only be an associate.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Good.
Well, it's interesting though that in Irishman, what is it? Frank Shearer, he almost, it was like equivalent to being made because he got that ring from Joe Pesci's character.
That's true.
Right, and it was only him and 2 other people that ever had those rings, which was
it was Angelo, Russell, and him. Those are the
Yeah.
only
Or is
three
that
people that
real?
rank.
Is that
Yeah.
true though? Is that true though?
And the way you said, we
Well,
don't know.
yeah, we don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
in
maybe he
terms
made
of
that up too.
right, in terms of validity, yeah, but in terms of like
Yeah.
this specific story, it's like I think that'd be that's an interesting contrast
Yeah.
by it. Um, and it's
Yeah.
interesting that that scene where he gets the ring, but he also gets the watch from Jimmy Hoffa, and he says that was the greatest moment of his life, and not necessarily getting that ring. So
Right.
yeah, so in a
So you
way,
got that.
he's saying that he valued the friendship with Hoffa more than he valued the association with Buffalino and like the mob.
Yeah. Because he
Well,
got that
especially
during that ceremony, right?
Right,
yeah.
yeah, like his
Yeah.
his retirement ceremony or whatever with the
Yeah.
Teamsters, and yeah, like he got the watch from Hoffa, and he said like that was the best, that was the greatest moment of his life, receiving this honor from Jimmy Hoffa, and then the same night, like he Buffalino gives him that ring that only like two other people had at that time, him being the exception, getting the third, but it's like so it might also be so that might also go towards the unreliable narrator to like he probably made that up.
He probably made that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at
Yeah,
that point, both of them are dead. Russell and Angelo Bruno are dead.
Mhm.
So who could really confirm that? Because it's supposed to have happened very secretly, allegedly.
Right, exactly, yeah. And especially if
Yeah.
it's like the rarity of that ring, like he is like him, an Irishman being essentially being a made man in the Italian mob.
Yeah. That doesn't happen, right? So
Yeah, that doesn't happen. Or it's like it's not supposed to happen. Like it's.
yeah.
I mean, because even in freaking I know we're just comparing. We don't really know what goes on in the mob, but like the only other kind of analogy that we can give is the Godfather, and God, with uh, Robert Duvall's character,
Tom Hagen.
yeah, Tom Hagen,
Yeah.
who's like
Yeah,
essentially
that's right.
adopted into the Corleone family, but he's not allowed to come to the rank of actually be taking over the family.
Yeah, he
Because
can't be a Don. Even though
yeah, he can
everyone
never
thinks
be
he
a
should be
Don.
the Don.
He can only
Yeah.
he's only like he can have a position of power, but he just can never be he can never get to that point where like he becomes a made man.
Right. The highest he could go is consigliere, which is still an outsider. He's just a counselor to
Right.
the Don. Like a consultant. So
Right.
yeah, that's true. Shit, yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense that in this case, because we also have Goodfellas to go off of, and Henry Hill, who as much as anyone, because he is part Italian, he's like, even I couldn't be made because they couldn't, and so Frank is probably why.
Yeah, that is true. Man. Well, I wanted to ask you guys, kind of bouncing. I remember how Scorsese was talking about Marvel and like comic movies in the Marvel universe. How that's not real cinema. I don't think he was really bashing it, but he was just saying that's not the equivalent. It's not the same thing.
He made a
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I totally agree with him too. Because they're two totally different products. But like what is it? The MCU is a universe, is the Marvel universe where all these characters exist. But we just see different sides of different stories. I realized this is kind of like Scorsese's universe because it's all historically true. Well, allegedly, most of it is. So these are actual characters that existed kind of around the same time. So this is kind of a Scorsese universe too.
Right.
Like Hoffa did. Okay, so Henry and Jimmy and Tommy, they were all associated with Paulie. And Paulie was a made man under the Lucchese family, right? Which is real. Totally real.
Yeah.
These are all real people.
You can look these people up. They actually existed.
They actually existed, yeah. And Jimmy Hoffa obviously existed. He, I think he had some associations with the Lucchese family through like the labor movement and all that, the labor racketeering and all that. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I was nerding out again and writing down dates. Um, Jimmy Hoffa was born in 1913, and Paulie, the guy who it was based on, Paul Vario, it says, he was born in 1914. So they're like the same age. So they're like contemporaries.
Yeah.
So they may have even met and like, maybe done some
Yeah,
business.
it makes
together.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
The unions, especially at that time, it was connected to the mob.
Yeah,
So it makes
exactly.
sense that these and with and because they're all talking about like getting the casinos up and running, that was all like it was the mob that was doing it, being paid
Yeah.
through union money because
Yes.
those guys couldn't to the bank for
Yes.
loans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
very
Hoffa
possible
was
that
a
all
financier.
these people in from these two movies in some way kind of knew each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. They
Mm-hmm.
did business together, and then taking another step further, Godfather, which was actually fictional, but loosely based on real people.
Yeah.
Godfather 2, you remember Michael and what's the old man's name? Um,
The guy that was
Rothstein.
down.
Rothstein.
Rothstein.
Yeah.
Rothstein.
Yes, they were working a casino deal. Remember?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and Michael was in Cuba,
yeah,
the night of the
Just before the
revolution.
revolution. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So this was all happening at the same time, and I bet you they got a lot of money from Hoffa if it was
Oh,
real.
Right, and I
absolutely.
think one of the aims for in Irishman was for them to depose Castro,
Yes,
so that they could get back to their money in Cuba. And that's what
yes,
that's what like the implication was, like the mob tie, like supplying the government, like the CIA with weapons so that they could then send to Cuba for the revolutionaries to fight against Castro.
yes, and that was that whole Kennedy
I
connection. The mob was
Yeah,
trying to get
that
yeah.
Kennedy to get all
exactly.
that done, but then Hoffa hated Kennedy, so that's
Mhm.
where kind of the divide started.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
because right,
I
because
actually
the mob supported Kennedy in or at least John F. Kennedy for his
yeah,
presidential thing, but then Jimmy Hoffa hated Robert Kennedy because he as Attorney General he was coming after him
yeah,
for actually doing the things that he was being accused of. But he's just
yeah,
like, he's like,
exactly.
oh, it's like, he's just like, but he just somehow took more offense to it, and like couldn't see
Yeah,
like past it, and see, he was kind of, in a way, it was kind of like the right hand not knowing what the left hand was doing.
it was that part of the especially of the Irishman I thought was very interesting. With kind of dealing with the whole like Kennedy assassination and all the stuff that was going on at that time because
yeah,
he so and if it is fairly accurate in the sense because the Kennedys were very anti-union. Um, and I remember like because I was doing research on something else. It was a NASCAR thing. There was at the time in NASCAR, some of the drivers were trying to create a union, and the owner of NASCAR, Bill France, went to the White House and was talking with the Kennedys at the time, and it was like yeah, and trying to get help from them to kind of help quell the unions and stop that from happening. And yeah, it's like the Kennedys were very anti-union, and because I think it's kind of weird because there is that belief that it was the mob that was the one that got Kennedy elected because he felt like because he was very anti-communist as well, so it was more of like they're expecting him to help them get get Castro out of Cuba so they could get back to the casinos. Um, and yeah, and it's weird that Hoffa was kind of like the other direction. He had spent a lot of money on Nixon's campaign, and that's why he felt like the Kennedys were against him. And it just is
right,
like they're all kind of screwing each other over.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. It's like it was hard. It was like they were working together, but just like they were creating like these uh, kind of opposing alliances. Um,
Yeah,
like even though like the mob. Uh, sought the power of the presidency, but then also the power of the unions. But again, those two things kind of kind of cancel each other out because of because of Kennedy's opposition to unions, and Jimmy Hoffa's the dogged adherence to unions.
Yeah, very very interesting aspect of the Irishman.
I think so. Yeah, I agree. That whole sequence was. I really like how they executed that whole sequence there. The whole Kennedy scene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit to Goodfellas. What are some of the scenes that you or characters that you really enjoyed, Eric?
One thing that really always stands out with me in Scorsese movies is his use of music, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
He's very. I can't think of another actor who's as deliberate with music as he is. Maybe Tarantino, but especially with Goodfellas though. I was watching really closely this time, obviously, and when everything kind of shifts, the whole movie just completely shifts, almost as if like innocence is gone after the prison scene. The cooking scene in prison.
Yeah.
All the music leading up to that is old, old American standards, like Bobby Darin. I think that's a Bobby Darin song, Beyond the Sea, that they're playing in the back. But before that, it's like Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, all that kind of music, which kind of harkens back to innocent America, before the war.
Yeah, more idealized, vision of America.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just completely shifts after the prison scene. It jumps to a small party where Paulie is berating Henry not to sell drugs, and they're in the background. There's a faint old song playing, and then it just kind of dies off as it just abruptly shuts off, and then cut to the next scene, which jumps immediately to "Gimme Shelter" by Rolling Stones, which is completely different. And it goes straight into his life as a.
And the rest of the movie has music like that.
Yeah, it jumps completely into that's like they play Cream, Sunshine of Your Love. That scene when Jimmy decides to kill everyone. I love that scene. That's so classic.
Yeah.
And then what is it? Layla. They close with Layla by Derek and the Dominoes, and that's all. The whole latter half of the movie is all just chaos. His life is just. That's when everything goes out the window. And I love how Scorsese does that. I think he used the same song in Departed, the Rolling Stones song, to open with that. And I just love how he does that. And then comparing it to The Irishman, I realized the whole thing is actually just very classic American standards. What's the movie In the Still of the Night? I think that's the one. He just plays that same song over and over. And then maybe has one original score piece, and that's pretty much it. It's very quiet,
Yeah, because
there's in Irishman, there's less music kind of supplementing the narrative.
Yeah.
And I wonder if maybe that because Frank is reflecting on his past, obviously, and like the good things of his past, and maybe this is like. Kind of that unreliable narrative. Maybe his mind is starting to go a little bit, and that's kind of like the one song that really stands out to him in a way.
Oh yeah. Because they play it over, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's how he wants to remember it, or
right.
Oh yeah. So that actually, yeah.
And like, whereas in the in Goodfellas with Henry. His mind is a little bit more lucid because he's a younger guy when he goes into witness protection, where it's like he remembers kind of that good old American classics, and like it's when he starts getting addicted to drugs where he goes into fast pounding hard rock music.
Right. Like the innocence lost, and
his mind is like he's going crazy, like he's getting coke essentially.
Right. He's just always coked out on his Quaaludes.
Dude, I have to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
like the makeup they did, like towards the end of the movie for Henry Hill, like make him look just like man, he is fucked up. Like they did a
Oh yeah,
great.
yeah.
I
They did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all strung out and yeah, just like pasty. So yeah,
Yeah.
really
was
superb
like,
makeup
dude, this
job.
guy is fucked up.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, I mean, I love that the way he uses music. Characters. I thought. I think we touched on it earlier. I thought out of everybody, Karen is a very interesting character. If you really just kind of pay attention to her, she might be arguably like the strongest one there because she.
Right.
I mean, it starts
Yes.
off like Henry. She grabs Henry's attention by standing up to him, like
Hmm.
going to his when he stands her up on the date. She
Right.
goes
Yeah.
straight up
She.
to him and cusses him out, and that's how
Mhm.
she earns his respect. Where it's in a world where they live in a world where guys don't respect women at all. You know, there's none of that. They're just
Yeah,
side pieces.
Mhm.
They're accessories. And she earns his respect, and she holds everything together, even through that whole uh, down period where he's selling drugs. She's still there. I mean, she's strung out too, but she's still there by his side. She never left him. She could have when he was in prison. She
Mhm.
still stood by him. She could have totally left
yeah,
with the kid.
Mhm.
Um, so I was like, maybe she's actually the strongest one. She kind of makes it. She makes it out, with Henry.
Mhm.
yeah,
So I don't
and
know.
like even though even all the marital affairs, because like she knew that he was sleeping with like many different women, and actually
Yeah.
in the real story, it wasn't just him and his wife at the talking to the FBI for like witness protection.
Uh-huh.
There was several of his mistresses that were
Girlfriends.
there
Yeah.
too.
Oh, okay. Because they were kind of all involved in the whole
Mhm.
Yeah,
thing,
so like
right?
the chick that was doing like helping him with like the coke, and I think like a couple other like of his side pieces were there getting witness protection. They all like kind of
Oh.
left. They all went under the same kind of
Yeah.
witness
So they all
protection.
went. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, but that's not said. That's not shown in the movie. But that's but yeah,
In the real
Karen.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That's
Karen. Yeah,
cool.
that's a good point. That Karen is of all and the thing is like it's part of like she's a very powerful woman. Yeah, and to her own admission in the narrative, it's like I couldn't leave him. It's like there's just something that like connected them for some whatever reason. She could never explain it. Like it's just we're connected. I can't leave it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
honestly, well, even though he was messing around with her with other women, like he couldn't leave her either.
And yeah, exactly. And
No.
that
Yeah.
that that proves that out of everyone in the whole story, where honor among thieves, loyalty in the mob, and amongst men, no one ever adhered to it. She was the only one at the end of the day that stayed
Yeah,
loyal, and she stayed loyal to Henry. Everyone else ratted each other out. Or Jimmy killed everybody. Henry
Yeah.
ratted everyone out. Paulie turned his back on everyone. So
Mhm.
it's like nobody was loyal to anybody. It's all about betrayal. And Henry was cheating on Karen left and right, but she still stuck by him. So she was actually the only loyal one out of anyone.
Right.
right.
Could that be? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then is that? I think that might. Uh, what is it? Show contrast in. Well, I mean, he did eventually come out and confess, but in the Irishman, in Frank Sheeran's case, he shows himself as like not you know not being a rat, not being disloyal to his compatriots. The in the movie, like the FBI comes to him again towards the end, where it's like, oh, like everyone's dead. There's no one to take revenge on you. So why don't you just what you know? But he doesn't.
Yeah. He
Um,
doesn't.
and so
Yeah.
so he, I don't know, he was a different breed, or he was a part of the generation where like they really truly, they truly kind of like understood that, or maybe like their like crime family was a little bit tighter, so they were able to instill that sense of loyalty to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, you're right. The way that things ran between like the family in Goodfellas and with in Irishman is very different because it a lot of that power was consolidated in Russell, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone went to Russell for anything, and like
True.
everyone respected and trusted Russell, to fix their issues, and like if he said you could do it, you could do it. If you said you couldn't do it, you didn't do it because you'd be fuck you up.
Right. Because Paulie was supposed to be like the boss over his crew, but Henry went behind his back to do coke deals, and and then
They all went
Jimmy
behind Paulie's back.
Mm-hmm, they all went behind Paulie's back.
That's true.
And maybe because in the case and why like at least with Henry and Jimmy and Joe Pesci's character, why they all went around Paulie's, because they were kind of the outsiders. They were kind of like the clingers on that family. They weren't necessarily in the family. They were just kind of clingers. So like they all went behind, did their own thing. They were kind of like almost like a crime group of their own. And
right. Although it is interesting though that Joe Pesci's character Tommy,
yes, thank you.
Yeah, like he stuck around with Jimmy and Henry, even though he was full Italian, and he could get made, but he latched on to the outsiders.
Well, I think because he grew up with Henry, like they were
right, and that's the point I was going to make. Is like
this.
Yeah, because because Henry and Tommy both came up when they were young kids, and so so at least they had that affinity, or they had that sort of connection to each other.
And I think because Henry looked up to Jimmy Conway so much, as like kind of like he was the type of gangster that he wanted to be, and because him and Tommy became close, like they all kind of gravitated to one another.
Yeah, Jimmy was actually. It's because he was Irish. He would have probably been made really early on because he was, Paulie always says he's a good earner. He wasn't a hothead. I mean, people didn't fuck with him, but he wasn't a hothead like Tommy. And he had the chops for being a boss. I mean, he was kind of the older brother of the group. I think everyone looked up to him growing up. And I have the nerd information here.
Awesome.
Jimmy was born. The real life Jimmy was born in 1931. The real life Henry was born in 1943. So there's an 8-year difference there. But then Tommy was born in 1950. So he was the youngest by far. Jimmy was 19 years older than him, almost 20 years older than him. So there was maybe that whole older brother thing, the connection. And Jimmy really cared for Tommy in the movie. He really saw him as a brother. Remember, he was crying. I mean, when does Robert De Niro cry?
Oh right. When Tommy gets whacked. Yeah, it's he has like his first like kind of emotional outburst when Tommy dies. So.
Yeah. But man, yeah. I'm thinking right now.
But I think in the case of like Frank in The Irishman, because Russell kind of like took him under his wing, and it was more and why, he killed for Russell, but like he was very like outside of like he had more affinity towards Jimmy Hoffa, and it's the Union tie, I think, but he never betrayed Russell. He did whatever Russell asked him to do, even killing Jimmy, who he liked more probably. And he even then, like, even though Russell had him kill arguably his mentor, he never like, I don't know if he ever blamed Russell, because even in that prison scene towards the end of their life, Russell says like, he's like, I always liked Jimmy, but you know what? I chose you and me over him. Fuck him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was powerful at the end.
That was such a powerful like line. I was like, whoa.
They were. That's when they were eating the bread and wine for the last time, right? They're all.
Yeah.
That whole there's like 2 or 3 bread and wine scenes, right? I think throughout the movie.
Yeah, there was the first one where where Russell and him like kind of like the second time that they met and actually became close, and Russell's like, oh, what does an Irishman speak Italian for? It's like, and like they end up like realizing they have actually quite a lot in common. But then throughout their life, they have like these bread and wine, kind of get-togethers, and they spend a lot of their life, their families spend a lot of time together, and so they're very close.
Which is kind of like
true.
communion, right? The bread and wine.
Right. Yeah. Which is interesting because there isn't. Well, I mean, there are scenes where him and Jimmy are like sharing a meal together, but nothing close to like the iconography of bread and wine.
Yeah.
Like when Jimmy Hoffa got out of prison, he went to go get him hot dogs or something, or they like sat down and had like some sort of a meal, but like that specific like iconography of bread and wine was never shared between Jimmy Hoffa and Frank Sheeran.
Yeah. And it was so impactful.
Yeah.
The bread and wine thing. Another thing I want to just going off that point, and I know we're trying to keep it within Goodfellas and Irishman, but remember the scene in The Irishman, the cereal scene, where they eat cereal in the morning, when Russell's telling him, basically, you got to kill Jimmy. I love that scene. That scene was so powerful, and it just kind of
without actually saying it, like it was just like, but there was such a tense scene because you knew like. Because Frank was like, he at that point, like he's like, oh, thank God, Jimmy's gonna, he's gonna stop being such a fucking dumbass, and just like kind of, we're gonna talk things through, we're gonna get it smoothed out, and it's fine. And you like after that phone call, you feel the sense of relief come over Frank. Like as an audience, we get that sense of relief too. It's like, oh, good. But then that scene in the morning, it's like that stress, that anxiety ratchets way up to the top all over again.
Yeah, I love that scene, but it made me think about immediately, not Goodfellas, but Heat. Remember when Vincent Hanna and Neil McCauley, Robert, the famous diner scene, when they're sitting and talking, sharing a meal, the kind of the banter back and forth. It totally just reminded me of that, and it's Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci this time, sitting there, sharing a meal and just discussing basically about, life and death. And I was like, oh, wow, I don't know if they meant it that way or if it was an homage, but it just reminded me of that. Which was
that's something we might have to do in a later podcast, our top 5 favorite movie scenes.
Oh, that would be amazing. One of those will definitely be on there.
That Heat Diner scene is definitely right up there.
Yeah. What is it? I still haven't been able to find a full copy of LA Takedown, but I did find the diner scene from LA Takedown. It is not. Robert, did I send you the link? Robert?
I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like night and day. It's night and day difference. Like the I guess like the caliber of actor, like delivering those lines.
Same lines.
Same lines. It's just like, but such a difference. Though. It's crazy.
It looks like a junior high school play or something.
Yeah, like some like LA Takedown looks like a student film. It looks like on a shoestring budget.
Yeah, it's like Mystery Science Theater versus
Michael Mann. Oh man. But sorry, I don't want to stray too far off Goodfellas, but it just reminded me of that.
You're right. That was a really powerful scene because it's like you almost like obviously if you know the history, it's like Jimmy Hoffa's gonna go away at some point, but you're almost like no, it's gonna happen. Everything's gonna work out, and you're on board with like you feel the emotions that Frank must be feeling at that point, and you come from this like finally like. We're going to get things smoothed out today, and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
than it isn't.
Right. Yeah. You kind of are lulled into this false sense of security where it's like, oh, okay, finally, my two best friends, they're gonna get along again. But at the last minute, it's like, nah, we're gonna kill him. It's like, oh shit. It's like, and you have no choice but to go along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the way Russell, Joe Pesci, the way he kind of gives the green light on killing people.
Mm-hmm.
He never actually says anything about killing them, But either by him saying, "We did everything we could for him," that means he's gone. He doesn't say anything about killing anybody, but everyone understands what that means. Or that one scene where Sebastian Maniscalco's character, I forgot, he's like that cocky little gangster.
Yeah.
Who fucks with Russell's pin, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, the little guy, right? The little guy?
Yeah, the little guy. That's when...
Yeah, they refer to him as a little guy. Everyone has like a little code name or nickname. Yeah, the little guy.
And
even Joe Pesci's character, Russell Buffalino, he's called the old man.
The old man, yeah.
And
all he does is, after that, he's pissed, but he doesn't show any emotion. Mm-hmm. But he just gives Frank a look, like, yeah, green light, kill that motherfucker. Mm-hmm. That's so powerful. And then contrasting that to Tommy in Goodfellas, where there is no green light. No one even knows that there's a green light because he just goes, like that at the drop of a hat.
Right, I think because Tommy was such a raw nerve that just anything would set him up, and even to the point where he didn't even care. That guy that that he ends up killing is a made man for another family. Billy Batts. Yeah. He just goes off on him,
which is the complete opposite.
Exactly, which is the complete opposite.
I think what the Irishman does is I think it sheds a huge light on how good of an actor Joe Pesci really is.
Yes.
Because he has such a wide range. You have this crazy, hot-headed, crazy person in Tommy from the Goodfellas, whereas the completely opposite character in the Irishman is Russell Buffalino, just this very calm, calculated, everything's okay demeanor. Because Russell never gets angry ever in the end.
No, not even. It's crazy because when Frank's daughter Peggy is constantly kind of slighting him, because he tries to show her affection and try to be the uncle, and she's just not having it. And you can obviously see that it's devastating to him when she rebuffs him, and it's just but it's this quiet kind of restrained kind of disappointment where you just kind of you just understand he's devastated whenever she doesn't take his gifts or just doesn't warm up to him.
Yeah, you almost feel his pain without him showing anything. That's the crazy thing about it. And that's that's where it's I was blown away by. I was I respected Joe Pesci so much more after watching The Irishman. I was man, I didn't realize how good of an actor this guy was.
100%. And I really wish. I mean, I think Brad Pitt definitely deserved it, the Oscar, but kind of wish it was a different year, because it would have been nice to see Joe Pesci get another one. Because he got it for Tommy, right? For Goodfellas, he was the only one to get an Oscar that year for Goodfellas.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds.
It would have been nice to see. That would have been a nice bookend if he got Oscars.
That would have been great. Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
But I was, honestly, I was just you know what, Joe Pesci gets, he's raised up a little bit more in my book as an actor. I didn't realize how good of an actor he really was.
I agree with you 100%. He was so good.
Yeah, he really brought it. I mean, he could have just Joe Pesci could have phoned in the performance, but damn, he brought it home.
And maybe I don't. You guys are probably going to disagree with me, and I'm not trying to knock him as an actor because I think he is a good actor. But I think because I've seen a lot of Robert De Niro films of late. I've seen we did Heat. We did. I've watched Ronin. obviously when you watch Goodfellas and The Irishman, it's like, it kind of feels a little bit like he doesn't necessarily have a wide range as far as acting goes, but
Yeah.
but where the line that he hits is like he knocks it out of the park. You give him that fastball, it's going out of the ballpark. But like I didn't. Whereas like some actors, like I saw more of a range in them. Like with Joe Pesci, I'm starting to see like where it's kind of like De Niro doesn't quite have that same range.
Yeah, he's definitely a different type of actor. He's not
Yeah.
like a Daniel Day-Lewis.
Agreed.
Who's become
Right,
completely
well,
like a different character.
Exactly.
You just
Robert De Niro.
unrecognizable.
Right. Robert De Niro isn't a transformative actor.
No.
He's very much, like the note that you want him to hit, he'll hit it, but in his way.
He's always Robert De Niro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he knows how to put himself into that character, but he's still always Robert De Niro.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like Joe Pesci or Daniel Day-Lewis, you don't even recognize them. It's oh shit,
Right.
I didn't realize that was.
Yeah, and that's what, and I think the Irishman finally it shed a light on a lot of different different actors. Like I learned to like I said, I respect Joe Pesci so much more now, and I might actually want to go and see some of his other movies just to see what he's done.
My Cousin Vinny, the best one.
Yes, thank you. I love My Cousin Vinny.
It's the
My
best,
Cousin
right?
Vinny is, I think, seriously, one of his best performances, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, I always loved him as Leo Getz.
Leo Getz, Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, whatever.
That's right. You forget that he's actually really funny.
Yeah,
he's hilarious.
He's hilarious.
This is
a testament to his range as an actor.
Yeah. In Home Alone, he's hilarious. He's like iconic in Home Alone.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Home Alone, Lethal Weapon, Goodfellas. This movie, it's like, man, he and I haven't seen My Cousin Vinny yet, but I'm definitely gonna watch it now.
It's the best.
You have it's. I mean, if you are becoming a Joe Pesci fan, it's required watching.
Yeah.
He's also a singer too. Did you know that?
A rapper.
He rapper, and he put out an album as his character in My Cousin Vinny.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Awesome. Oh my god, he's the most awesome guy.
Welcome
he's the
to
most
the
awesome
Joe Pesci
human
podcast.
Fuck Joe Rogan, it's Joe Pesci.
I know. Come do our podcast, Joe Pesci. We love you.
Yeah.
Damn.
But
That's
yeah,
so
no,
true.
it's like but yeah, like I said, I think Robert De Niro, like he said, he hits that note so well, but like it's one note that he's got.
Yeah.
I love. Don't get me wrong. I love the note. The note is great. And the other thing I think we have to address at this point now is obviously Al Pacino.
Oh my god.
Who, don't get me wrong. I love Al Pacino, but there's a point like where we did The Godfather, and the Al Pacino in Godfather is way different than it is in The Irishman. And there's a point where, as an actor, I think his brain broke because he's nuts. Like, I felt like he tried so hard at the very beginning to emulate Jimmy Hoffa. And then there was some point probably during the film where he said, fuck it. I'm just going to go full Al Pacino.
That's so funny. Totally, dude. He just says, fuck it. Oh, man.
And he gave the people what they want. He gave them Al Pacino.
Yeah.
He's definitely another one. It's not a big range.
No, but like I also like it's because I love movies like The Godfather and Serpico, where he's more like, I felt like that was more of like a very more measured character. Like that character had more range. That had more range. But you guys keep saying it was Scent of a Woman that probably broke Al Pacino's mind.
I think so. Yeah.
Probably that was like, I mean, you get a little bit of it, in Dog Day Afternoon. But
I love that movie. Yeah.
yeah, but like the whole hoo-ha. That's the movie. That's the movie where that is like on full display. He's like he's got, I think he the point in his career where it's like, this is the only character I want to do. Hoo-ha.
He did get the Oscar for that, right?
For Scent of a Woman.
For Scent of a Woman.
Yeah, I think he got Best Actor. Was that his first Oscar? Maybe that's what it was. He's like, oh fuck, this is what works, so I'm gonna stick to this. I got the Oscar for it.
No, I mean, because I think my favorite iteration of Pacino is Detective Hannah and Heath.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he did get Best Actor for Scent of a Woman.
Okay. Does it say that was his first Oscar?
Yeah. Because all the other ones, like for Godfather, nomination.
Nomination.
Dog Day Afternoon, nomination for Best Actor. Best Actor, Godfather Part 2, nomination. Best Actor, nomination for Serpico.
Panic in Needle Park, I think you got nominated.
I don't see it on this list here.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, Scent of a Woman was his first one, right?
Yeah, Scent of a Woman was his first win.
That's what it is.
That's what it was.
Fucking crazy.
I know. It's like they love me for this. They love me for this.
Oh, this is what people want. All right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they love me for this.
I finally cracked the code of Al Pacino. All right, there we go.
Oh man.
It was driving me crazy because I look at like what happened to Pacino, like from like Godfather to now. Like he's a crazy person.
He just lost his mind.
Yeah, now I know what it is. It's the Oscar that broke his brain.
That's what it is.
He's just giving the people what they want.
Exactly.
and he gave me everything I needed. That scene in like that in Heat, that scene in the restaurant with his wife or soon to be ex-wife. It's like, I'm right here on the edge where I gotta be. Hoo-ah! It's like it's oh, it was just great.
That was the pinnacle, I think.
Yeah.
And like I said, he at the beginning of The Irishman, like when he first comes on the scene as Hoffa, he tries to act as Hoffa. He did. He tried, and he was doing a good job. But there was a point somewhere in the film he's like, "Oh fuck it, I'll just give the people what they want." And he's acting to a woman. That's the code.
That's exactly true, dude. That's so funny, man. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good actors. Ray Romano, I was surprised to see him in that.
Ray Romano,
I was really surprised.
I love him in the film. He was great.
Yeah, and what's his name? The guy who played Skinny Razor. What's his name in real life? Bobby Cannavale? Who eats the steak in the beginning? He's kind of balding.
Yeah. He's in in Scorsese's show, Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, was he? I never watched Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, you'll love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Skinny Razor. Yeah, Bobby Cannavale. Yeah.
Same thing with Tony Pro. He was in Boardwalk Empire's Al Capone.
Oh, he's the guy in Snatch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy was good. That was Johnny Pro.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
he's in Boardwalk Empire?
he was Al Capone in Boardwalk Empire.
Oh shit, he'd make a great Al Capone. I gotta watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you see a lot of like the Scorsese characters of the past that show up and play in this film outside of like Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
It's I will say that for the majority of in both films, the majority of the characters were like perfectly cast.
I would have to agree. Yeah, it was great. Even Anna Paquin as his daughter Peggy, she was. I mean, she said like 8 words, but who cares? I mean, she was great.
Well,
She didn't need to say
that's
anymore.
there was people that were upset about that, and it's like,
Yeah.
I had to realize the movie was not about Peggy. It wasn't like we're not seeing the Irishman through the eyes of Peggy. It's through Frank's eyes, and in reality, Peggy, and we've talked about this where Frank is reflecting on his life, and for a majority of his life, Peggy never talked it ever.
Yeah. That
And
was the character.
And the 8 words that are spoken, those are probably the only words that he remembers from his daughter.
That's true. And then I remember reading about all these feminists coming out and say it's like, oh, it's such a male dominant. No, dude, it's a story that they're telling, and this is how the story's told.
You can tell they never watched the movie at all, because you saw like Anna Paquin, like she she did great, and her lines were meaningful. There was a point to the brevity of like her words spoken on screen. There was a reason, and I think that's the point that you brought up, that Frank probably only remembers those words from his daughter, because they had, by that time, his daughter probably hadn't talked to him in 30 years almost.
That's true. Yeah, she just wrote him off. Oh, she was good. That reminds me of one other thing I noted. The difference of the reaction by women to violence of men. In Goodfellas, remember Henry protects or stands up for Karen when her neighbor attacks her. You know, she's falling frantic.
Yeah,
He goes over there and pistol whips him, and that's when she like fell in love with him. She's like, oh, wow, that was so hot. You know, like it was such a turn.
Yeah.
It turned me on.
And that's how he wins her over. But then in The Irishman, almost same thing happens with Peggy as a girl. The grocer kind of smacks her for, I don't know, she knocked over some oranges or something. So he goes over there and beats the shit out of him, and that's when Peggy's
old
like,
man beats him up.
I'm done with my dad. So it's a complete opposite reaction. But you would think like, oh, that's my dad standing up for me. How cool is that? Instead, she's like, wow, he's a monster. And that's when everyone's like scared of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I also wonder if maybe that it's also because you have to think about it. Karen was a grown woman at this point, and she already had some sort of attraction to Henry, and maybe like, oh, this guy actually cares about me. Like, where like I called scared, and he did something about it, and he protected me. Whereas Peggy is a young girl, maybe like 8 years old at that point, and seeing some guy get the shit beat out of him, like essentially curb stomp, or like that has to be like, she was already kind of distraught, and she wasn't the one that came and told Frank. It was his wife that said it, and and instead of just going over and talking to the grocer, he dragged Peggy with him and like essentially forced her to watch him beat the shit out of this guy. That probably like scarred her a little bit, like as a kid.
Oh yeah. I mean that's like parenting fail on all levels. But I just thought that was interesting, like the female perspective. But yeah, I mean that just shows how crazy Frank is. He's kind of a sociopath, you know. Well, I guess they're all sociopaths if you think about it.
Yeah,
everyone's a sociopath.
But well, it's Frank had been, by the time he met Russell. I mean, he was already like a kind of in his words, an assassin. Like he had like kind of had Nazis dig their own graves, and he shot him. So but like he was the one that had been designated to do that. So I mean, he had already he probably killed a bunch of people.
Right, but I think it could, but it was almost as if he turned that part of himself back on, because because the things that you do in war aren't necessarily things that you do in in regular life, and so it's interesting that he was able to flip that part of himself back on so easily, once presented with the opportunity to do so. I thought that was pretty interesting. Like it's almost in a weird way that he wanted that part of himself back, that that he was no longer allowed to enact, because the war was over and he was back in civilian life. But now here's the Buffalino crime family who's now giving him a license to do that stuff.
That's true. That's true. I mean, maybe it was some kind of weird form of PTSD that he was dealing with.
Maybe
it kind of made him crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did Robert go somewhere?
Oh yeah, I think he just went, stepped out to the bathroom or something.
And then sorry, bathroom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
But no, I was listening to what you guys were saying. And, yeah, that's actually interesting. It could have been a form of maybe he did feel a little bit lost as far as after his time in the war. He probably maybe felt some sort of duty, or he felt like he was doing something. Whereas now he is, he was kind of a truck driver, and it's yeah, I'm making a living. I have a family up, but Russell kind of maybe brought back that sense of belonging again, he had a purpose.
Right.
And it's very possible maybe that was what was going on with him.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, it gave him a sense of purpose, something to. Yeah, because before that he was just a truck driver, right?
Yeah, just a truck driver.
Just deliver meat. Yeah. I thought it's interesting. All those actors, from Goodfellas that are in Sopranos. I looked it up, and it was actually 27 actors from Goodfellas are in Sopranos.
Yeah, there was quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the biggest one obviously is Lorraine Bracco, who played Karen.
Yeah, Lorraine Bracco. Yeah, what about Spider, who plays who plays Tony's nephew? I forget, what's his name?
Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
Chris Moltisanti. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
these
homage
guys...
to Goodfellas when he shoots that the kid in the bakery in the foot.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I saw a YouTube video about it. Someone was saying that was an homage, and I think his line was, "It happens." Deal with it.
Yeah.
I will say where one difference I see from both of these, where Goodfellas definitely has a little bit more intensity and craziness to it, where it's a little bit more, and this is because of the characters. There's a little bit more of an unpredictability to it, especially in the character of Tommy, right? It's you never know what the fuck that guy's gonna do. Whereas in The Irishman, everything feels a little bit more calculated. Even the characters that are a little bit, you don't know where they're gonna go. There's still, it feels like there's a little bit more calculation in their murder, where it's we're gonna give these people a chance, but if they fuck up, we're gonna fuck them up. And whereas in Goodfellas, it's Jesus, Tommy, why'd you shoot the fucking kid? He was trying to give you he was just giving you a hard time. You shot him in the fucking foot you go. Where it's you gotta let it go. It's and you don't know where these guys are gonna go.
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
I don't know. It's I don't know which one I like more. It's kind of or which one's more scary.
That's true. I guess there's a level of maturity in The Irishman, right?
And maybe that's it too. Where it's the characters from The Irishman, I felt you could negotiate, you could talk to them. Whereas like in Goodfellas, fuck, yeah, scared shitless.
That's true. Also, I guess we are dealing with, for lack of a better word, they're just young thugs. They're not made. They're just associates. They're kind of lowly foot soldiers. And maybe that's why they are at that level, because they don't know how to keep their cool. They don't understand. Well, not that they don't understand it, but it's not always business with these guys. Sometimes it's emotional. Just because someone makes fun of him, breaks his balls, he's gonna kill him. Like, that's not good for business. And that's what ultimately gets Tommy killed. They whack him because he couldn't control his cool. Yeah, whereas everyone in The Irishman is cool and composed, especially Russell. And that's how he lives till whatever, 85 or 90. I don't know how old he was when he died.
Yeah. Well, it's like the majority of the characters in The Irishman live to die in prison of old age, essentially.
Right.
Whereas in Goodfellas, it's like, well, fuck, Jimmy killed everybody, or Tommy shot a bunch of guys, or he got killed. None of them really died in prison outside of maybe like Paulie.
And it's so sad because even living that long is not such a great thing either for them. There's no glory.
Yeah.
No one really cares what they did. Like, remember when he's showing the nurse all the photos and he's surprised that she doesn't recognize Jimmy Hoffa. He's like, you don't know who that is? She's like, no, who's that? Jimmy Hoffa? Oh, I've heard of him.
Right, but you can tell that she really didn't remember, or she doesn't really recall the name at all.
Right.
And so.
And they all die alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And none of it mattered. None of it made any difference.
Yeah, ultimately, it didn't leave any lasting impact on the world, or didn't leave them, any kind legacy. It's kind of like in Godfather 3, where Michael is constantly trying to shift his image, and he's trying to leave a better memory of himself than people actually know, because and like he has he has that kind of like envy for Don Tomasino, because everyone loved Don Tomasino, and even when he was killed, people actually mourned him. Because he was a good man, but then everyone fears Michael because of the legacy that he ultimately leaves.
He essentially dies forgotten and alone.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Al Pacino, he goes from like Michael Corleone from like Godfather 1 and 2 to Michael Corleone. They drag me right back.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I keep trying to crawl myself up, but they keep dragging me back in.
He was trying to send him a woman. Now I know. It's the Oscar.
It was the Oscar. That's what the people want.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Speaking of Godfather and Goodfellas, there was one thing I compared between those two. I know we're trying to keep it with The Irishman, but do you remember the scene, that whole sequence after the Cream song comes on, Sunshine of Your Love, and you focus on Jimmy, and Jimmy is deciding that he's going to kill everyone. You can see it in his eyes, that whole slow-mo shot. And then it cuts to the sequence where he actually kills everybody. You see the couple dead in the pink Cadillac, the guy in he's frozen stiff. And I forgot that's when Layla starts playing, I think. And that compared to it reminded me of the scene in Godfather 1 when Michael decides to kill everybody too. And it's a whole sequence of murders. But I thought Scorsese did a better job of that. It was a lot more powerful to me. Maybe it was the music or... Yeah,
I actually agree with you. I think that Scorsese did a better job in that, where I felt like he set it up better in a sense, because you knew that those guys were going to die, especially like after the Lufthansa heist, where the guys are being fucking stupid and like they're buying shit after don't buy stuff, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
And like they're looking at us, don't be stupid. And like these guys are being stupid, and he realized like I have to fucking kill these people.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I get to keep all the money after I kill him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Who needs them? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I
but
thought
like
that was kind of
I
interesting.
felt like that scene was better set up than yet. And The Godfather felt more like, oh shit, like this is I didn't see this coming. Like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but like yeah, the Scorsese set his scene up a little bit better, I would say.
Yeah. I agree.
Mm.
What did you guys think about in The Irishman? First of all, it seems like The Irishman has a little bit more. We were talking earlier. It's a little bit deeper of a movie, more meditative. Maybe it's because of Scorsese's age. It kind of reflects on life. Um, but because of that, I felt like there was a lot of like symbolism, or it was a little bit more poetic. Um, the whole thing where Jimmy Hoffa always leaves the bedroom door open, and then the
Mm-hmm.
last
Yeah,
shot is of Frank in his room by himself, and he asks the priest not to shut the door all the way, leave it open, and that's the very last shot. What is that? What do you think that means?
well,
There's
and
got to be like a
Frank.
meaning there.
Now I don't know necessarily what it means, but Frank also talks about like how like uh he talks about the finality of things, and he
Uh,
doesn't want to be cremated, and he doesn't want to be buried in the ground, but like more he wants to be buried in that he goes and visits
the crypt.
Yeah.
the crypt, and like
Yeah.
but he needs a metal casket for that to work, and it's like I don't know, something about it seems less final, like like maybe like I could be resurrected somehow,
Mm.
and maybe it's like closing the door, like he doesn't want things to end, and by shutting the door you're closing things off, like there's a finality to things.
Ah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, I'm gonna bring up a Godfather reference, like at the end of Godfather 1 where Michael Corleone shuts the door. Yeah, it's kind of it's
Oh
closing
shit.
the gap, it's closing the door between him and his wife, and pretty much him and everyone else. He's shutting
Oh
himself
shit.
away from
Yeah.
everyone. Whereas in this, Al Pacino playing Jimmy Hoffa and with Frank, we're leaving the door open. Like this isn't the end.
Oh shit. I never thought about that connection. You're absolutely right. It's a very similar ending, except
Yeah,
the difference is they shut
Right.
the door in Godfather 2, in Godfather, and here they leave it open. Oh shit. That's very cool.
Right. But I think it's also telling because that last shot in Irishman, Frank Sheeran, he's very small. He's become like this small person. Small in
Yeah.
life, small. And, he's and and I think like it ultimately like it makes him like a very tragic figure. Um,
Yeah.
just to
Very
compare
tragic.
it back to because yeah, I totally forgot about Godfather, but yeah, but like that scene, like you see the scene where Michael is like becoming the Godfather, and like people are like kissing his hand, and he's and showing him the respect. Um, but at the end of Irishman, like none of that is going on. Like Frank Sheeran is just sitting alone in his room, and he doesn't even realize that it was Christmas. The priest said, after the priest like
Oh
takes his
right.
confession, it's like, oh Frank,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be around until after the New Year, because like since it's gonna be Christmas. Like, oh, it's Christmas. He's like, I didn't even
Yeah.
realize. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so yeah, so as the camera like pulls away, it just shows Frank as this, as he truly is, or as truly, or as he, as people who ultimately, kind of like, that old saying, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah.
These people who, kind of live with these doors like half closed. It's not that the doors are half open; they're really half closed. I think it's a
Right.
really
Right.
interesting perspective. It's like they wanna like kind of compartmentalize their lives, but ultimately what they're doing is just they think that they're leaving the door half open, but it's really half closed.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah.
ooh, that's interesting. I didn't think of it that
That
way.
is. Huh.
that just blow your minds.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
It's really deep.
I had to think about that a little bit.
I have my moments.
No,
Like, yeah,
I
try
think
following that.
All right, good podcast, guys. Good seeing you.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that was a mic drop. Nice.
I didn't even realize. It wasn't until until it was like silence. It was like, oh dang, I really.
Oh, like, I'm still processing right now. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was gonna be a kind of like a mic drop moment. I was just.
Oh man. Damn, no, I think that's it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything else.
Okay.
No, I think that's it right there. Oh man.
Andy,
Yeah,
close the
that
door. Halfway closed it.
Oh man.
man.
Well, all right then. Yeah, this is great. I guess
Yeah.
the only thing to do is maybe we can say should we give a rating on these or like say which one we like better or
Oh yeah. Huh. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Which one we like better?
so yeah I'm gonna go with I do like Goodfellas better, but the gap between them is not as far. Now that I've watched them a couple times back to back, and we've talked about them, the gap between is not as far as it was. I actually do respect the Irishman a lot more than I realized, and but I would say like as far as ratings go, I'm gonna give Goodfellas a 4.5, whereas I give the Irishman maybe like a 4. Because the Irishman definitely has its flaws. Uh, Goodfellas is nearly a perfect movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's probably gonna be my rating. But I was shocked by how much more I like the Irishman in comparison to Goodfellas, and I realized that there's actually a lot of great symbolism in the Irishman that because this is my fourth time watching both movies. Uh, and yeah, The Irishman's a really good film. A lot of people bashed it, but I don't think a lot of people understand it either. And if you watching these two movies together, I think would help you to understand them both better.
Yeah. For me, watchability wise, I still love Goodfellas. I think maybe because as far as my life goes, it's been with me a lot
Yeah.
longer. And I've watched it so many more times. So it has a deeper impact. But I was surprised that I Irishman as much as I did, especially with how long it is. It didn't feel as long as it really is, which is probably a good thing. And to me, I feel like both of the movies is almost like one movie, in the sense that like it almost feels like if Goodfellas was a young man, The Irishman is that same young man, older, grown up, more mature at the end, like kind of at the twilight of his life, which is kind of like all the actors are that way, even the characters, and even Martin Scorsese. And maybe that's why it feels like they're so connected, not just the story or the world they're in. And I kind of imagined before we figured out who Frank was actually talking to. I always kind of imagined Frank talking to a young Henry, trying to illustrate how I don't know, essentially worthless that type of life is through his narration. Not necessarily advising him, but just telling the story, hoping that a young Henry or a young, whoever, someone in that world would realize there's nothing at the end of it.
Yeah.
Living that life. So that's what it kind of felt like to me. As far as rating goes, I agree. Goodfellas is almost a perfect movie. I would probably give it like a 4.8 because I like it so much, but it's not quite a 5.
Yeah.
Right.
And Irishman, I'd probably go with you, a 4.0. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, it's like I think it's a kind of running gag on our podcast that me and Robert are seeing. But we usually have like the same mind about certain things. But in this case, yeah, I think I would tend to agree, and I'd give because like you guys, I'm gonna just repeat what you guys said. Yeah, Godfather, nearly a perfect movie. So yeah, 4.5 for Godfather, and yeah, Irishman is a 4. It's Irishman does, yeah, as Eric was saying, Irishman does feel like, Goodfellas, as like if they were like, actually people, then yeah, Irishman feels like an older version of Goodfellas, or it's like that, it's like kind of like getting that person getting to that stage of their life where they're older, wiser, more reflective. Um, so yeah, I mirror Robert's rating, 4.5 for Goodfellas, 4 for Irishman.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this has been a treat. I've
That
enjoyed this.
was same here. Did we hit 3 hours? Almost, right?
We're
Oh, I mean, technically in total, well, no, just like we're just
No.
at 2.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
just coming up on 2 hours. So
that
yeah,
was,
we kept
that
our
was
we
fun.
kept our promise
That
to
was
you.
fun,
So
guys. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh man, that was really fun, guys.
yeah, it was a fun
Yeah.
time.
And
It's fun
we'll
because
definitely have
the build up to it. It's always like you get to watch the movies and yeah, kind of
Mhm.
anticipate it. So yeah.
yeah. Well, and we always love having you on. We like nerding out about movies with you. Well, obviously you're like you're gonna be a guest of ours for quite a long time, I imagine.
I hope so.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I hope so. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
no, you're always welcome on, dude. You're always welcome.
Thanks,
yeah,
man. Thank you guys.
yeah. If you ever like give us like, hey, you know what? Why don't we do these movies? And all right, let's do it. We'll make something happen.
Oh,
You
I
get.
don't know if you want to leave that door open because I might be bombarding us.
Oh no, don't worry
No,
about
like
it.
yeah,
I'll
Eric is gonna suggest like some
No.
French New Wave shit.
Yeah. Shut that door right away.
Yeah, let's not leave the door open for that.
No, don't leave the door open for that one.
uh,
Oh,
but yeah, no, it's been a treat. I love hanging out with you, Eric. And I look
likewise,
forward
man.
to us. All
Absolutely,
right.
same here. Yeah,
All right, well that's the episode, everybody. And
cool.
if you love Eric so much, we do have several other episodes with him. You check out the Circle of Jerks main show. And if you can't get enough movies, Andy and I every Tuesday, along with a bunch of other topics we talk about, we do movie reviews. That's live Tuesdays at 8 o'clock ish. Nocturnal transmissions. If you like old school gaming, there's a show called Up by Up Down that we do. And if you want to contact us on social media, there is our Twitter at PodcastDOJ, Instagram Circle of Jerks Podcast, and our movie review site that we do, LetterboxD at PodcastDOJ. And is there any way people can get in contact with you, Eric?
Yeah, my Instagram is probably the easiest way. At Eric Nam LA, EricNamLA. That's my Instagram handle. That's probably the fastest way.
All right, awesome.
Oh, and
And
are you still doing your YouTube channel? Your family vlogs or whatever?
Oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you guys want to check out some of the family stuff we do, that's on YouTube.
The channel's called Nam Fam Bam. Pretty easy to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some fun
Yeah,
stuff.
I saw your recent upload.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I saw your
I
recent
just
upload.
realized
Yeah.
we have like I think 7 videos that I've shot that I just haven't had time to edit, but
Yeah.
I got time now. So
I know you got time now. You got no excuses.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be pumping those out. So yeah, thanks for checking those out.
All right. Well, that's the episode. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. And everyone,
Yes.
stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You too. Thanks,
Deuces.
guys.